Eugenics is a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population by excluding people and groups judged to be inferior or promoting those judged to be superior. We've learned about Hitler's use of the tactic and the various other crimes committed throughout World War II. While the United States was on the opposing side of Germany's Third Reich during World War I and II, what if I told you that we, in the USA and even closer in California, have deep roots in the movement? Here, the eugenics movement was spearheaded by Charles Davenport, a renowned biologist, and Harry Laughlin, a former school principal. The two founded the Eugenics Record Office in 1910, which spread information on immigrant laws and issued recommendations for native-born defectives. One such recommendation encouraged use of government-controlled forced sterilization. Sterilization is a method of permanent birth control that is applicable for both females and males. By itself, the procedure is a 99% effective procedure for preventing unwanted pregnancies. However, there were as many as 32 U.S. states that permitted government-controlled sterilization in the year 1937. In California, legislation for sterilization criteria began with granting medical superintendents of prisons to asexualize a patient if such actions improved their physical, mental, or moral condition. And over time, this built up to allowing cases such as this investigation's primary source, where anyone who was deemed mentally insufficient by the discretion of the government had the sterilization operation performed on them. The primary source shown is an instance of what these built up to. A 16-year-old girl classified as being a delinquent and having an inadequate IQ test score. By virtue of these classifications, she was classified as a moron and sterilized just a few days later. I know what you might be thinking. Wait, that IQ test? The one that can be taken online for fun and involves shapes and puzzles? And the answer to that would be yes. Eugenicists have been searching for an objective way to measure intelligence and to identify, segregate, and sterilize the feeble-minded. They believe that this flawed test could distinguish the feeble-minded and even categorize them further as idiots, imbeciles, and morons. Eugenicists such as Henry H. Goddard believe that the high-functioning morons pose the greatest eugenic threat to society due to their ability to fit in and continually reproduce. Racial inequalities arise in this topic in that there were multiple instances where female immigrant patients were forced to sign papers to ensure their survival while undergoing labor. These papers resulted in them effectively signing away their right to reproduce, as very soon after giving birth, sterilization procedures were performed on them. This includes the group of 10 Hispanic women who sued county doctors, the state, and the U.S. government after they were sterilized while giving birth at the Los Angeles County USC Medical Center during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Their 1975 lawsuit argued that a woman's right to bear a child is guaranteed under the Supreme Court decision Roe v. Wade. While the California Federal Court eventually ruled in favor of the County Medical Center, this case influenced the California Department of Health to implement new sterilization procedures, including providing bilingual information materials that explain the process and consequences of sterilization. Ultimately, the state of California revoked their sterilization law, which had enabled over 20,000 sterilization operations to be performed. If you are interested in learning more about the topic, there is an entire documentary on the topic titled No Mas Bebes that I would recommend you watch, and here's a short clip from it.
HEW for non-compliance or non-enforcement of the sterilization regulations.
It was just the beginning of the emergence of the civil rights movement in the Latino community.
We were talking about abortion rights, all of the issues of feminism at that time. The idea that somebody could be forcibly sterilized seemed like something out of a mental institution out of the 1920s.
The well-funded and social Darwinists continued with their efforts until 1980, when the last legal forced sterilization was performed in Oregon. Ultimately, school-certified history textbooks typically avoid the topic of sterilization and its deep roots in California due to its dark history and portrayal of the government as doing wrong to unknowing and unwilling citizens. Learning about this topic really forced me to wonder more about where and how systemic inequalities lie in our current healthcare system, as well as what other shocking topics were not explored or even covered in my studies of U.S. and world history. I am very fortunate to have been given the opportunity to shed some light on the sterilization incidents with all of you, and hope you took some valuable lessons in your exploration of history and beyond. Thank you so much to Profe Sandoval, and thank you all for your attention.